Hey peeps, Tyler here with my September book haul. I have, I think, 11 books here. In Shock, My Journey from Death to Recovery and the Redemptive Power of Hope. A riveting first-hand account of a physician who's suddenly a dying patient, and a revelation of what it truly takes to heal. After Dr. Rana Awdish, my apologies if I mispronounced that, spent months fighting for her life, enduring consecutive major surgeries and experiencing multiple overlapping organ failures. She was faced with something even more unexpected: repeated cavalier behavior from her fellow physicians, indifference following human loss, disregard for anguish and suffering, and an exacting emotional distance. Hauntingly perceptive and beautifully written, In Shock allows the reader to transform alongside Awdish and watch what she discovers in our carefully cultivated, yet often misguided, standard of care. Shatteringly personal yet wholly universal, In Shock offers a brave roadmap for anyone navigating illness while presenting physicians with a new paradigm and rationale for embracing the emotional bond between doctor and patient. Got this because I was born a professional patient, as the disability community says at times. I was born disabled, factual association. I actually have a playlist about it. I feel like a broken record at this point. I got a lot of medical issues, a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of surgeries. So, this obviously interests me. Doctor become patient. Yes. Of course, I also love memoirs in general, but, that specifically is why I picked that one up. Rise above, overcome a victim mindset, empower yourself, and realize your full potential. An empowering call to reject the victim mindset and become the hero of your life. Does life feel smaller than it used to? Does it seem that the people around you have taken a step back from doing hard things, preferring to remain in their comfort zone? In the era of social media as therapy, it's tempting to see ourselves as damaged and powerless, defined by our past traumas, our emotions, and the struggles we face. Yet, in fact, it's more important than ever to rise above the limiting beliefs and widespread anxiety that put us in boxes, lower our expectations, and hold us back. In this empowering book, renowned psychologist Dr. Scott Barry Kaufman unpacks the dangerous myths and misleading buzzwords swirling around the popular imagination, revealing the truth about managing our emotions, the double-edged sword of self-esteem, the surprising gifts of sensitivity, and ultimately the power each of us has to overcome challenges and shape the course of our own lives. Urgently Needed Rise Above speaks to what ails us, offering not just empathy, insight, and a dose of humor, but also actionable solutions to own your life and reach your full potential. The Bible Says So: What We Get Right and Wrong About Scripture's Most Controversial Issues, by Dan McClellan, who I've actually been watching on YouTube. Very interesting. I have not read the Bible since I was a young teenager. Oh, and speaking of comfort zone, I actually have a video that I made a while ago about staying in your comfort zone. Not a good idea. If you're always in your comfort zone, I mean. 24/7. But anyway, to The Bible Says So: What We Get Right and Wrong About Scripture's Most Controversial Issues. The Bible is the world's most influential book, but do we really know what it says? Every day, people try to cut debate short by claiming the Bible says so. However, they commonly disagree about what it actually does and does not say, particularly when it comes to socially significant issues. For instance, does the Bible say we should be on the lookout for an Antichrist associated with the number 666? Does it say women shouldn't wear revealing clothing? Does it say it's okay to hit your kids? And The Bible Says So, Dan McClellan leverages his popular data over dogma approach, as well as his years of experience as a Bible scholar and on social media, to lay out in clear and accessible ways what the data indicate the Bible does and does not say about issues ranging from homosexuality, abortion, and slavery to monotheism, inspiration, and even God's wife. Smart, accessible, and informative, The Bible Says So is an invaluable resource for our fractious times. I am not a Christian, though I was raised Christian. I have nothing against Christians in general, because, like, every person is different and whatnot. And there's, like, a bazillion denominations plus non-denominational. But I am spiritual, and I do want to, like, learn about everything, frankly. That includes Christianity, but not just, like, every religion. All of it. I am a very curious little gremlin. Anyway, The Secret Life of Plants, a fascinating account of the physical, emotional, and spiritual relations between plants and man. The cult favorite which hypothesized that plants may be sentient, New York Times. Explore the inner world of plants and its fascinating relation to mankind, and as uncovered by the latest discoveries of science. In this truly revolutionary and beloved work, drawn from remarkable research, Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird cast light on the rich psychic universe of plants. Now available in a new edition, The Secret Life of Plants explores plants' response to human care and nurturing, their ability to communicate with man, plants' surprising reaction to music, their lie detection abilities, their curative powers, and much more. Tompkins and Bird's classic book affirms the depth of humanity's relationship with nature and adds a special urgency to the cause of protecting the environment that nourishes us. I love reading about nature. Usually it's a book about animals, but like plants are nature as well. And also breathing is kind of awesome. I'll put that there. That might screw up the light a little bit. Raising Hell, Christianity's most controversial doctrine put under fire. Have you ever considered the apparent inconsistencies and contradictions of the doctrine of hell? For starters, do earthly parents love their children more than God? Does God ask you to forgive your enemies when he is not willing to do the same? Is being punished forever for sins committed in a short lifetime really justice? Does everybody really get the same fair chance to believe in Jesus before they die? If hell is the worst possible fate of mankind, and if God is truly loving, then why doesn't the Old Testament ever teach about or even mention hell? Why doesn't Paul the Apostle to the non-Jewish world ever once mention hell? Why was hell not part of the early church-established doctrine? Why can't most theologians agree if salvation is by election or free will? Dare to question, what have you got to lose? If you've ever had doubts or questions about the incompatibility of eternal torment with a merciful God, Raising Hell will open your eyes to a radical view of God's loving purpose for all humanity and what the good news is really about. Picking up where Rob Bell and others leave off, Julie Ferwerda, apologies for probably butchering that, offers compelling evidence historically, philosophically, and scripturally as to why the doctrine of hell is the biggest and most damaging deception of the modern church. And then there's even blurbs. The Library of the Unwritten by A.G. Hackwith. Join the library. Raise hell. Books that aren't finished by their authors reside at the Library of the Unwritten in Hell, and when restless characters who emerge from those unfinished stories escape, it is up to the librarian to track them down and keep the collection complete. Many years ago, Claire was named head librarian of the Unwritten Wing, a neutral space in hell where all the stories unfinished by their authors reside. Her job consists mainly of repairing and organizing books, but also of keeping an eye on restless stories that risk materializing as characters and escaping the library. When a hero escapes from his book and goes in search of its author, Claire must track and capture him with the help of former muse and current assistant Brevity and the nervous and sweet demon Leto. But what should have been a simple retrieval goes horrifyingly wrong when the terrifying angel Ramiel attacks them, convinced that they hold the Devil's Bible. The text of the Devil's Bible is a weapon in the power struggle between heaven and hell, so it falls to the librarians to find a book with the ability to reshape the boundaries between heaven, hell, and earth. I don't remember reading that synopsis. But okay. Then, I got the new revised standard version updated edition of the Bible. so that at some point I can reread it. Only before I know I read the King James version. So, but I've heard I don't want to reread that one. So I got this one. The Library Book by Susan Orlean. On the morning of April 29th, 1986, a disastrous fire broke out in the Los Angeles Public Library. By the time it was extinguished, the fire had destroyed or damaged more than 1 million books. Over 30 years later, the mystery remains. Did someone intentionally set fire to the library, and if so, who? Leaving her lifelong love of books and reading into a thrilling investigation of the fire, award-winning New Yorker reporter Susan Orlean, hailed as a national treasure by the Washington Post, delivers a mesmerizing and uniquely compelling book that manages to tell the broader story of libraries and librarians in a way that has never been done before, revealing how these beloved institutions provide much more than just books, and why they remain an essential part of the heart, mind, and soul of our country. Here, let's see. The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away. Quit by Annie Duke. From the best-selling author of Thinking in Bets, a smart, insightful guide to the vastly underrated skill of quitting on time. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Many of us have internalized this message, which is so deeply rooted in our culture, and we are paying the price. Whether it's leaving a bad job, selling a poorly performing stock, or walking out on a toxic relationship, we often stick to the wrong course of action for too long. Psychologically, we're biased to cut things out, especially when we've already sunk significant resources into our effort, but staying the course when it's no longer worthwhile wastes time, energy, and money that could be better spent elsewhere. Making smart decisions about when to quit is one of the key skills that differentiates those who succeed in the long term from those who don't. That's why winners quit a lot. In Quit, best-selling author and internationally acclaimed decision-making expert Annie Duke draws on thoughtful examples, behavioral science, and keen-eyed analysis to explain why good quitting skills are integral to success in any part of life. She explains how quitting on time often feels like quitting too early, why it's hard to walk away when that means not knowing how things will turn out, how to identify when it's best to persevere or pivot, and strategies for enlisting others to help you call it quits. Rich with real-life examples of how startup founders, professional athletes, mountaineers, and entertainers quit or didn't when they should have. Quit codifies the cognitive biases that keep us from walking away from losing endeavors, and offers practical strategies for quitting anything, a career, a marriage, an investment at the right time. Raising Hare, a Memoir by Chloe Dalton. A moving and fascinating meditation on freedom, trust, loss, and our relationship with the natural world, explored through the story of one woman's unlikely friendship with a wild hare. Imagine you could hold a baby hare and bottle feed it. Imagine that it lived under your roof and bounded around your bedroom at night, drumming on the duvet cover when it wanted your attention. Imagine that more than 2 years later it still ran in from the fields when you called it and slept at your house for hours on end. For political advisor and speechwriter Chloe Dalton, who spent locked down deep in the English countryside, far away from her usual busy London life, this became her unexpected reality. In February 2021, Dalton stumbles upon a newborn hare, a leveret, that had been chased by a dog. Fearing for its life, she brings it home, only to discover how difficult it is to rear a wild hare, most of whom perish in captivity from either shock or starvation. Through trial and error, she learns to feed and care for the leveret with every intention of returning it to the wilderness. Instead, it becomes her constant companion, wandering the fields and woods at night and returning to Dalton's house by day. Though Dalton feared that the hare would be preyed upon by foxes, weasels, feral cats, raptors, or even people, she never tried to restrict it to the house. Every time the hare leaves, Chloe knows she may never see it again. Yet she also understands that to confine it would be its own kind of death. Raising Hare chronicles their journey together while also taking a deep dive into the lives and nature of hares, and the ways they have been viewed historically in art, literature, and folklore. We witness firsthand the joy of this extraordinary relationship between human and animal, which serves as a reminder that the best things and the most beautiful experiences arise when we least expect them. It even has a little map. Or what have you. Last but not least, Unthinkable, Trauma, Truth, and the Trials of American Democracy by Jamie Raskin. On December 31st, 2020, Tommy Raskin, the only son of Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, tragically took his own life after a long struggle with depression. 7 days later, on January 6, 2021, Congressman Raskin returned to the House to help certify the 2020 presidential election results when violent insurrectionists led by right-wing extremist groups stormed the U.S. Capitol, hoping to hand 4 more years of power to President Donald Trump. As our reeling nation mourned the deaths of numerous people and lamented the injuries of more than 140 police officers hurt in the attack, Congressman Raskin, a constitutional law professor, was called upon to channel his overwhelming grief, both personal and professional, into leading the impeachment effort against President Trump for inciting the violence. Together, his 9-member team of House impeachment managers riveted a nation still in anguish, mounting a spellbinding Senate trial that produced the most bipartisan presidential impeachment vote in American history. Now, for the first time, Congressman Raskin discusses this unimaginable convergence of personal and public trauma, detailing how the painful loss of his son and the power of Tommy's convictions fueled the congressman's work in the aftermath of modern democracy's darkest day. Going inside the Capitol on January 6th, he recounts the horror of that day, a day that he and other Democrats had spent months preparing for under the correct assumption that they would counter an attempted electoral coup not against a president but for one. And yet, on January 6th, he faced the one thing he had failed to anticipate: mass political violence designed to block Joe Biden's election. With an inside account of leading the team that prosecuted President Trump in the Senate, Congressman Raskin shares never-before-told stories of just how close we came to losing our democracy that fateful day, and lays out the strategy behind the prosecution that convinced Democrats and Republicans alike of Trump's responsibility for inciting insurrection against our government. Through it all, he reckons with the loss of his brilliant, remarkable son, a Harvard law student whose values and memory continually inspired the congressman to confront the dark impulses unleashed by Donald Trump. At turns, a moving story of a father coping with his pain and a revealing examination of prosecuting President Trump for the political violence he fomented, this book is a vivid reminder of the ongoing struggle to defend American democracy and the perseverance that our Constitution demands from us all. This was published in 2022, apparently. That is my September book haul. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if any of them sound interesting to you. Yeah, I know I pick up mostly nonfiction these days, though there is the Library of the Unwritten, that's fiction. But yeah. Or what did you get in September? Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.